We have a quorum, so I'm going to bring the board meeting for the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District to order at 5:04 p.m. So this is our reorganization meeting, which is the reason that I am starting the meeting. And as soon as you reorganize, then I will turn it over to Kim or whoever is the new chair.
Whoever that may be.
Whomever that may be. And we also do have a few things to change on the agenda, so bear with me for a moment. So introduction of board members. Can we start over here with Linda?
Linda Barrett, clerk.
Steve Fox, Middlebury, Avalanche.
Steve Orzak, ACSD, and Vice Chair.
Liz Sayre from MAUSD.
Kim Farnham from New Haven, and I'm the community at large member from the Mount Abraham School District.
Nicole McTavish, Superintendent and Director.
Christina Macklin, Addison Northwest District, School District Representative.
Dan Roswell, Northwest Addison at large.
Austin Haynes, Business Manager.
David Roberts, Director of Operations.
We'll come out in just a moment. All right, next is motion to approve the agenda. However, I'm hoping that somebody will make a motion to amend the agenda for us.
I make a motion to amend the agenda and move item I up on the agenda. That's the change I see, and the other change will be the meeting minutes from the annual meeting, which we cannot approve at this point in time. It can be approved next year during the annual meeting, and a copy of the current minutes are in my hand if you'd like to look at them, and Linda's looking for some feedback in the event there's something that wasn't correct on these minutes. Anything else that we need to?
I think.
Go ahead,
Don't
Christine.
we have to reorganize all the committees?
Yes.
Okay, that's not on the agenda either, I don't
Okay,
think.
so what I hear is an amendment to A, move item I to the first thing in the agenda, B, strike the adoption of the minutes, and C, to add committees to the board reconstitution section.
Excellent.
Clarification, if this agenda that's in our packet
Correct.
only shows the regular meeting minutes, it does not show the annual meeting minutes. So we don't need to worry about it.
So Sharon,
There are
thank you,
two
Sharon.
links, but it's
Yes,
not.
okay. So, do I hear
Need a
vote
second?
on the, second on the amendment, please?
Second.
So seconded?
Can I just ask one last question? Does the reconstitution of the committees need to be an action item? As we make a motion to accept all the committees?
Probably, yes.
Sorry.
That's good. So shall we vote on the motion on the table, and then we will make a second motion? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a motion
Please.
to move the reconstitution of the 8 PAC committees to action item 4. Say that makes sense.
Perfect. So a motion has been made to, I think we probably want to make all of board reconstitution an action item, correct?
Correct, yes,
All right,
sure.
I heard an amendment to make all of board reconstitution, which now includes committees, an action item.
I second it.
Second by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Could
Aye.
I ask a question about that?
Yes.
When you say the committees, are you simply talking about the roles and the number of committees, or are we talking about actual appointments at this?
Appointments.
So since we have several new members and they've not made their wishes known, is it possible we can either defer that, or how do you want to handle that? Because they're not here to let us know where they want to serve.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we defer, we can't meet at all, right? So
The
can we
committees.
appoint anybody out new down in the next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what,
Does that mean, sorry for the back and forth, does that mean that someone who's not here tonight will be appointed to a committee that they may not necessarily want to serve on, And so we'd be able to change the compositions of the committee afterward, because I know that the whole the whole board votes on those meeting times, as well as approves the elevation of chair and clerk from those meetings. So and I know we're getting technical here, but what's the proper format of doing that? Because we do it a little differently in ASASD. We reorganize the board, and then people put in what they want for committees, and then the committees are reorganized in the following meeting. But we meet twice a month, so that's a little.
Yeah, and we do it a little differently in Addison Northwest. We do it all at once.
Okay.
So,
It-
whatever you guys want.
Is it possible to appoint committee, the people that are present tonight onto committees, and then let maybe task the superintendent or the board chair with determining who the others? Go
And
ahead.
then the only other thing we do is that we evaluate the charge.
Yes.
So every year, right, like go over and make sure that it's needed. That's the only difference. Or that you also do, sorry.
Yeah, the committees evaluate the charge and then bring it back to the board if they want to make any changes. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm fine with doing whatever we want to do, but let's just make it clear from the outset how this is going to happen. And so when we have new people showing up, it's like, hey, surprise, you're on the floor washing committee, oh, wait a minute, I don't have any, knowledge of that. I was going to be on the personnel committee because I'm a personnel director, so.
Yeah, I don't think we can assign anybody without their permission.
Okay.
So how would the board like to proceed? I'm happy to do.
Do we have to know who the members are before we charge the committees? I mean, you said we can't meet until.
Until you officially reorganize, you can't really have a committee.
Can't do anything.
Right. So,
I wonder if that includes membership, because then what happens, like, if something changes in the middle of the year, and somebody comes in and gets appointed to a new committee, that means they can't participate in that until what? So what happens?
When I came on 20 years ago, I was appointed to a committee.
Yeah, I was too. I was appointed 2 years ago.
Exactly. And I was appointed to committee. It was up to you to find out what they did. If you really were confused, you speak to the chairperson on that committee, or superintendent, or, you or I.
Okay.
And I think it's an educational piece
yeah.
that goes on. And then, like you said, after maybe the next year, they go, I think, well, like, for instance, facilities. We haven't met for a while. We do need to bring that committee back. And I think Mike was interested in doing that. He's not here, but I think we already know that. Judd, we talked to earlier today, is very interested in being on that. So there's some answers already to some of the committee. Now, the newer people, I think, it's too bad they're not here today, but I understand that transition. And when they do come, we talk about the different committees that we have, what their responsibilities are, and just a quick conversation. And if we have some openings or one committee's overloaded, then like we've had in the past, we'll move them.
Well, we have 3 committees, right? Policy, negotiations, and facilities, right now.
Budget.
Budget.
Oh, budget.
Budget.
Okay.
And facilities is, we're going to bring it back up for
Yeah,
obvious reasons.
So 4.
So there'll be 4.
Okay.
Any additional questions? All right, I believe we have a motion on the floor, do we not, Linda?
The only motion you have on the floor is to move the reorganization call to action.
All right, all in favor of moving the reorganization of chair, vice chair, secretary, committee to action, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. All right. Now we are at that point. Do I do public comment before? I can't remember. I think we do public comment. Do we have any public that would like to comment? David, is there anyone online?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Anybody in the room that would like to make public comments? Hearing none, I'll move on to board reconstitution. So first, we need to determine a chair. Do I have any nominations? Steve?
I'd like to nominate Kim Farnham.
I'll second.
I'll third.
Fourth, fifth? Yeah. Any other nominations for chair?
Yes, I'll do it.
All right, thank you. I assume we need to vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Kim will be our new chair.
Thank you, everyone.
Next up is vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
One point of order.
Yes.
Since Kim has now been appointed the
Oh,
chair.
now I
she-
could turn
she-
it over.
You can hand it over.
Thank
She was
you.
into it, I was watching.
So now,
I was like, okay, let her go.
now that we have a chair, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our new and returning chair.
Thank you.
Yay!
So again, a motion to nominate a vice chair,
I'd like to nominate Steve. He's been
you.
doing such a great vice job.
and I second that.
Can you make that clarify which Steve?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
For the
Steve
record.
Morrison,
Thank
please.
you.
Steve-O, seconded.
Got it.
Any other nominations? All those in favor of having Steve-O as our vice chair, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none? Thank you for serving.
Yes, and I will serve.
Thank you, Steve.
Alrighty. Third position is the, yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah. Where are we?
Aye. It's on aye.
Yeah, thank you. I know. And the secretary. We need a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Christina McCullough. Will she do it?
I'll do it again.
She'll do it. In a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Thank you, Christine.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you
Chris.
very much. All right, so that selection's over, and I'm trying to think, we did
Committees.
public comment.
And
Oh, we
it is
got
our
it.
intention, just as a comment, it is our intention to have Linda continue taking the minutes.
Do we elect clerk?
No, but I,
Yes.
She's it.
Is that at the annual
That's something totally separate.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
elected at the end of the meeting.
That's it.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
whole different thing. Now, we have moved the reconstitution of all board committees up at that grouping. We talked about, we have budget, we have facilities, just leave that for a minute, but we have negotiations, and we have
Policy.
policy. So budget, who's currently on that?
I think it's just you and I.
And Judd is.
Judd?
So, I'm sorry, are we
Go ahead.
doing the action items now, or are we gonna go watch the drone people first?
I thought you moved that. Didn't we move it up there? Yeah.
We voted to move it.
Yeah.
So under the action items, which is F.
We
Oh,
moved
do I
this whole blo-
misunderstood?
Yeah, we moved the whole block.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry.
Move the whole block.
My bad, all right.
It's okay. And I'm going to add facilities, because we did have that loose conversation about reconstituting that meeting. Speaking with Judd, he would rather, I think, be on, currently, he's doing negotiations with myself, and he would like to be on facilities, so I think those two places for Judd. Mike was on facilities, I believe?
David, do you see the list? It's right there in front of you on the
On the glass wall.
Oh, facilities, was Mike, Judd, Kim, Steve, Parks, and Dan.
Okay. So Judd is definitely interested. I'm going to say Mike is. I'm going to get off that committee. Thank you very much. And Steve? Okay, thank you. Negotiations, it's currently Judd and I. We are in the midst of a staff negotiation, so I don't think it's appropriate right now to add anybody, but when we're done, we will be recruiting somebody. But I-
Sharon's on that, Sharon, is she off?
Yeah, she's off the board right now, but thank you. Anyway, so that committee on negotiations is, as it is right now, is Judd and myself. Now, policy. Steve? And who else is there?
Dan.
I'm on it.
Dan and Christina, okay.
Yeah.
just as a heads up, policy is down 2 people.
Mhm.
Sharon and Tricia was on that.
Right.
Tricia is no longer going to be serving on this board. Laura, our new representative from ACSD, is currently serving on the policy committee at ACSD, so she may be interested. But traditional to have an odd number, I think that would give us an even number of people.
We still need people for budget and negotiations too.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
believe policy had like 5 people on it, they had a lot.
Yeah. Policy was the newbie
Liz,
catch-all.
where would
too,
you like to be?
when I came on.
For me, it's more scheduled, because I know I can learn from any of them, and I know that there's 2 that meet in the morning, right? And one that's an afternoon one?
They're
Currently.
Currently.
Yeah, currently.
The committee will set the meeting times around the
Oh,
committee
okay.
members.
And, you know, and if you have to Zoom in or whatever, you know,
And you can zoom in, yeah.
you know,
So I
that's an option.
I think all of them are interesting, and I'd be happy to join any.
What subcommittee do you have at Money? What are you doing now?
I'm on Community Engagement Committee,
Ah,
so I've
Another-
done that for a really long time, and before that,
mm.
worked on policy when the district was forming, transitioning our policies.
If you're worried about the morning time, finance has always been in the morning as a legacy from one of the earlier
Previous members, yeah.
chairs. So you're not going to break my heart if we change the time on that one if you want to serve on budget finance. So,
Okay.
and
Wherever you guys meet.
So who's on budget right now?
I think it's just the 2 of us.
Okay, so,
Awesome,
I'm off.
okay.
Unless I have to be dragged there.
Right.
Isn't-
I think that was the
Because you've
deal
got
in the first place.
negotiations going
Yeah,
on.
that's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah,
Isn't
Among other
Judd on,
things, but-
isn't Judd on?
and I am on our.
He is currently, yeah,
He's on budget too?
yeah.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I am on negotiations right now from LA, which makes afternoons hard too.
Yes, I would imagine.
I think, didn't Judd express an interest to switch from budget to facilities?
Yes, he did say that
Yeah.
this morning.
Okay, so he's off budget?
I think so.
Yeah, I think, because he's doing negotiations too.
I really like the house. Yeah.
Awesome.
Steve,
two
Steve
agrees
is
there.
on budget?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem with just having Liz and I on budget is I'm already the chair of policy, and unless somebody wants to take that over, I can't really take on another chair. So, and you said Judd wants to be off. And who else do we have that's new that hasn't been assigned?
Steve? What, are you on, which committee are you on? I've forgotten.
I'm only on
Facilities.
at the moment.
Facilities. yeah.
Facilities.
Oh, that's right, I have you written, sorry.
Do you have any interest in joining budget? I mean,
Sure, will
okay.
help.
Thank you,
Mhm.
thank you.
Good, that gives us 3.
2 Steves?
2 Steves.
Yeah, that's never been a problem on this board.
No. Not at all.
Board of Steve's.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll just ask Laura where she would like to go.
Sure. I think at this point, and Mike is the only one, again, he was on facilities, so I'm going to assume that, but if he wants another position on a different committee, he can let us know that too. The representative from Porter, I have a couple of names, I haven't approached anybody yet, but I do got it down to that, and I wanted to wait until after the election just to see as things settle down. But I think Sharon gave me 2 names, and I have another candidate that I may be interested, so hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have somebody. But, and then we can figure out where they want to be, what time they have, you know, left in their schedules too. All righty. Any questions about where you are and what your group are on? And I'm sure it'll be published.
Well, I'm just on policy. I mean, I was on facilities as well,
Mhm.
because I was the one who raised that stink about the radon. I don't know where that stands. I'm willing to
That's a
go
good
on
question.
policy if there's, you know, I'll take
So
it.
there's 3 people on that committee right now. If
Okay.
you want to join that, that would be
Okay,
great.
yeah, I just,
Okay. Thank you, Dan. And that gives them 4. I think what's nice when you have that kind of numbers, if somebody can't come, you still can
Got a quorum.
have a
Yeah.
quorum to have the meeting. That's the other factor that we run into.
So right now, policy only has 3 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think budget finance has only 3 too, if I counted correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Negotiations only has 2.
Yes, we do.
So do we have to make a motion with all these names in it, or are we
Okay.
good?
I didn't
Good.
think so.
Great. One thing that I'll just share about in Addison Northwest, our committees, a lot of them meet on Zoom. Some of them meet an hour before their board meetings, but we have 2 board meetings a month, so that sort of creates an opportunity there for people that don't want to do first thing in the morning kind of thing, but it might be complicated for you to do that too. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. So.
Thank you. All right, any questions regarding those? And again, if you figure out that's too big a conflict or commitment, whatever, just let us know. See what we can do, because we do have some members that obviously aren't here right now, and hopefully we'll fill in some other slots. Right, and I don't believe we have to vote on that, but anybody have a corrected? I didn't think so. No. Okay. And I think we are ready for the drone demonstration, and I'm sure they're ready for
And
us.
we're going right out into the hallway for this.
Okay.
What committees, is he listed anywhere, Dave?
Oh, he's on board norms and goals.
Yeah, that committee's getting,
That was an ad hoc.
So
Yeah.
that's
he's not on anything else, right?
nope.
Okay, so he needs to be,
That's why, yeah. So we'll have our normal meeting time first go around for policy, or for committees, right? And then
Okay.
decide to change.
unless, yeah, this is a big conflict.
Yeah,
Norms and goals did such a great job that they finished it this
just
way.
like that.
Yeah, you guys were like on it.
That doesn't happen very often. So are we going somewhere for the drone demonstration, or is it? They were out
They
there
were
all
supposed to be out in the hallway, so.
They were, and,
They
You
get
know.
discouraged?
well, it's probably kids having other things to go to.
Commitments.
And we were quite a bit late. I don't know if anyone talked to them.
Oh, poor guys. 'Cause I went out there at 2 and they were ready for us.
Yeah, that's too bad. Well, maybe they can come back next month and we can
They might be just downstairs somewhere else.
do them
Yeah,
right
who
away.
knows?
Well, they were all set up, though,
Yeah, they had
so they actually moved their stuff.
They're gonna come to the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. had
They have
to
another
leave.
commitment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We figured as much. So, section D, consent agenda. I need a motion to accept that. Read the numbers.
Which I said,
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we accept. Great, so for the month of February, in the general fund, we had $241,671.25 in accounts payable checks. For payroll, we had $218,014.10. In adult education, we had $789.29 in AP checks. In our enterprise revolving account, $12,507.47. Student activities was $689.99, and no other activity in our scholarship, building and equipment reserve fund, or the energy project. And that is the month of February.
Any questions? Seeing none, I now need a motion to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second, Steve Parks. Thank you. And seeing no questions, either raise your hand or say aye. Accept that. Thank you. Anybody opposed to accepting that? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay. Whew, second page. Okay. So, we have a new hire, which we need to vote on. She has graced us with her a visit today. Her resume should be in front of you. And I want to introduce Tracy. If you want to come up and just give us a little, what you're doing, where you are.
Hi everyone, my name's Tracy Crossbaker and I am thrilled to be here. I'm currently a school counselor at Fairhaven and I got to Fairhaven, I'll backtrack. I started in higher ed administration and spent a number of years in career services and residence life. Then I had children and moved over to the K-12 setting and I have always spent time in small rural areas. My home is Ticonderoga, and when I moved back there, it was meant to be temporary, and that was 19 years ago. So I am in this region happily, and I enjoy that opportunity to see magic happen. And when I came and got to meet with folks to get to know a little bit more about Hannaford, you have incredibly vibrant programs and partnerships that just bring it all together. And when Wendy reached out and said when I had meeting with both of you and have the opportunity to have an offer, it was wonderful, wonderful news, and I'm grateful to be here and bring that home, I hope. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Dan?
Yes.
Did you work in Vermont when the bridge came down?
I was in New York at that point. My neighbor was actually somebody working in Vermont, and it was daunting. At that time in particular, my family had some pretty serious medical things we were navigating, so getting to Burlington was very difficult. And growing up, my dad drove from Ty to Burlington every day because he was a General Electric machinist. So yeah, that was crazy. My in-laws were also here at the time. I don't want that to happen.
I live right by the bridge, so I'm trying to understand how people navigated it. So it's an aside question, but.
Most folks that I knew took the southern route, which meant going down to Whitehall
All
and
the way down to
Fairhaven
Whitehall.
and back up simply because there was no alternative for a while.
Wow.
So,
Okay, I don't want to press it.
that's okay.
Thank you, yes.
We're thrilled to have you, Tracy.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that
Looks good.
when Wendy first interviewed Tracy, she ran right over, "We've got a good one." We were pretty excited. Yeah.
I look forward to coming this summer and
Right.
making good things happen.
One question, under your selected programming experience, you've written banana splits, what's that?
That was, there was a period of time when I was working primarily with elementary age children, and Banana Splits is a family-friendly way to work with students who have multiple homes, whether that's parents who are to go our store who were never together to begin with, and sort of juggling that split
Excellent.
experience.
Thank you.
And we did end with Sundays at the end of those groups.
And you want to say a little bit about your board experience?
I am in my 15th year of serving on the school board in Ticonderoga, New York. In my first board meeting, we had to excise 14 staff. We were able to bring them back the following month when New York State budget had finally settled. But I just know that there's a lot that goes into every decision that's behind the scene, and I appreciate that folks volunteer to make good things happen, because without those volunteers, there aren't public schools that make things happen for kids. So, and it's a labor of love, for sure. So,
Thank you, Tracy.
thank you very much.
Thanks for coming back.
Happy to be here.
So we need an action item on that, so I need a motion to accept Tracy in that position.
I move that we accept Tracy Cross-Baker as the director of is it college and
Career in college.
career and college services.
And a second? Second. Thank you, Steve. All right, any other questions? Mike, this is a young lady who very quickly will be accepting her position as the new counselor and coordinator.
Cool.
And I think her resume, if you don't have it, it's around the table if you want to look at it. All those in favor, second that motion, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mike, we, just a little catch up, we have looked at some of the committee assignments. That was something we had to reconstitute at the beginning. I think you were already on facilities, is that correct?
Yep.
Any other committee that you were on or have an interest in?
Not right now.
Okay. But facilities will be,
Yeah.
alive. We have some things that need to be fixed, done, whatever, added to the list, so
Yeah.
we'll be alive and well.
Okay.
Alrighty. The next item is a board report. So Nicole?
Oh, your action items.
Oh, sorry. Some we moved, some we didn't. So the ends report, 2.4, which is physical planning and budgeting. I don't know who wants to. Austin's going to take that. Thank you.
Yeah, so similar to last month, this is a dovetail to policy 2.3, which is financial conditions and activities. And this one gets into a broader explanation of our general practices in the business office for receiving revenue and accounting for expenditures in our chart of accounts. The controls we have in place from a SOP perspective about reconciling bank statements, depositing cash, that sort of thing. How our chart of accounts is structured in accordance with federal guidance and the uniform chart of accounts from the state. And then our monitoring of cash flow using the line of credit to withdraw funds when we're in a tight spot, and those sorts of things. There is a mention towards the bottom of the report as far as some obstacles we faced, which is not new news to the board or the world really, just the delay in our audits and the financial infrastructure that we've had to clean up have had consequences, and we're still kind of digging out from those challenges. So within the past few weeks, David and I have been spending a lot of time reconciling bank statements, getting caught up, doing a lot of cleanup in our chart of accounts to get back onto proper footing that we've been driving towards. And that's a high-level summary.
Any questions?
I have a couple
Christina?
questions. As a result of getting caught up, are there still fees being associated with being behind in certain areas?
Like from vendors or from credit card companies?
Yeah,
or to my knowledge, and David, you have a better glimpse, any recent expenditures within the past few months have been caught up, so we're not recovering from those, so to speak. And any fees or transactions sort of predate this year, calendar year.
Okay, great. And are you confident that we'll have an audit report before the school year ends?
I hope so, yeah. The last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of really good exchanges with the auditors. We're currently working through an inventory asset list with them. And they periodically come to David and me with questions about testing This week they had some payroll testing questions, which we answered, so we're still more or less on track. Obviously, it was delayed, so as far as the overall timeline, we're not behind. It's just when we started, we started a few months late.
Okay, and can you remind me when the next audit starts? Pretty soon,
Pretty
right?
soon, yeah. We'll be getting into pre-audit testing and submitting documentation this spring for fiscal year '25. And then, depending on timing of this year's or last year's audit, we'll be looking at a summer-fall process again.
Great, so you guys are kind of doing double duty there.
Yeah, thankfully, fiscal year '25 hasn't started, so we're still in fiscal year '24's audit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, 2.0.
2.0 is the global executive constraint, so it's the one that governs my actions to make sure that I'm performing with integrity and complying and being transparent with the board, following your directives, making sure that we're attending to risk management, making sure that we have non-discrimination policies and procedures in place, and including our stakeholders and community in decisions, and that we are attending to academic excellence and student outcomes and accountability and reporting. So traditionally what I do and what you see here is I go through and attest that I am in fact doing those things, which I have done, and I'm confident that I'm in full compliance with this. And I've given some examples of things that the financial situation that we discovered, we took care of, and made sure to communicate with the board every step along the way. And similarly, as we discover other things, we've been communicating with the board. For example, I didn't put it in here, but the situation with evaluations, we communicated with the board and didn't solve that situation. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Seeing none.
Need motion on both of those.
Right, we need a motion on all of those, don't we?
Each of those items need to be a separate motion.
Okay, thank you. So let's go back to 2.4. I need a motion to accept that.
I'll make that, sorry, you go.
No, you go.
I'll make the motion to accept 2.4 financial planning and budgeting report.
In a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any further questions? Seeing none, would you raise your hand or say aye to accept that motion?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. 2.0, Global Executive Constraint Policy. I need a motion to accept that.
I'll make the
Thank
motion
you,
to
Dan.
accept policy governance 2.0 global executive constraint.
Policy. I need a second. Steve Parks. Any questions regarding that? Seeing none?
Can I just make
Go
a
ahead.
note
I'm
that
sorry.
the link in the budget, in the agenda does not go to this document, it goes to something else, just so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So noted. Did anybody figure out where it went?
It goes, I think, just to the actual policy, so
Okay.
we just didn't get a chance to really read it ahead of time.
Okay.
Can I just make one
Sure.
comment on your academic excellence and student outcomes, as we've discussed? Academic excellence is a weird issue, and it's something that we probably need to address going forward, because excellence for CTE is different than excellence for a school trying to prep kids for college. We've kind of discussed this, and I wonder where this can go.
That's a good, yeah, when the board adopted the policy governance language, I think we adopted it wholesale from K-12. So it may be a good exercise to go through and see if there aren't some indicators that you want to direct particularly to CTE indicators.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Please raise your hand or say aye, accept that motion for 2.0. Aye. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries for 2.0. Number 2 is the Peg Allen Sugar Bush lease agreement, which was put together a long time ago. Anyway, and we haven't talked about it. How long ago was it?
This one is brand new.
Ah, thank you.
That's not mine.
It's not the original one, let's put it that way.
No.
Thank you.
The original one is my property.
Right,
This is my sister who is adjacent to.
next door.
Next door.
They've expanded, they keep following the woods down the line.
Thank you. Does anybody want to?
Do you want me to say anything about it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, like
Thank
Linda
you.
said, the production, maple syrup production of our natural resources program and introduction to agriculture program has expanded down the line, and they're tapping more trees now. So, to recognize that and ensure that we're doing everything legally, and also that the property holders are covered to have kids on their land, it's important that we have an official lease with them so that our risk management can cover the kids while they're there. So we put together one that mirrors pretty much exactly the one that we have with just up the road.
So the insurance policy now covers that?
It will cover our,
Hopping around on that
right.
land, yeah.
We can probably come back with the specifics of that because there probably is some, the landholders probably have, their own homeowners probably have some of the liability, and then but the district, the reason we do this is so that the district can carry the brunt of that.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure we're good partners.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to assume legal is taking a look at this.
Legal looked at Linda's,
Mhm.
and this is the same, correct?
Yes, it's the same document that they looked at.
And we pay 1 gallon of syrup.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
That was the next
There's no
question.
exchange of money here.
Correct.
Just a gallon of syrup.
$54.
This is wonderful good faith by community members who we certainly appreciate.
Very much. Linda, how long ago was the original one?
Oh, my
I
goodness.
know. It's a while.
1988, 89, somewhere in that vicinity. My parents built the house in 88.
Yeah. And it now has a sugar house.
There was 2 sugar houses.
2 more sugar houses. Thank you.
One that operates and one that just stores things.
Any questions?
I would also say, if anybody can get in touch with Erin to find out when they're out there, we would love to have any of you come visit and see the kids working.
Yeah.
They worked, they had 2 students come out Saturday and work with Erin and I, with play all day. They needed to boil what was in the tank because it was going to spoil with the temperatures as high as they can.
Mhm.
So right now, they're boiling as fast as they gather. It might not be there for more than the half day, but if you can connect with him and come out and watch him, look to see you guys.
Tried to do that last year, things got in the way, I'd like to set up.
Worth the trip.
Yeah, I've heard that
Yeah.
fresh syrup is something to behold.
You might have to bring your own snow if you want to do that, but yeah.
How's the crop so far, Linda?
I think they said they've made 80 gallons
Wow.
by Saturday. I don't know how much they made on Saturday. That might have been the 80-gallon mark was when we finished on Saturday.
Awesome.
But 2 really busy kiddos out there.
It's getting a little cooler this next week too, so.
Let's hope,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
it didn't look good this week.
If you ever need any,
But they did boil yesterday.
Yeah, so.
if you ever need any help, let me know. I can voluntold a young man to come help you.
I think just talk to Erin. and
Aaron will pick them up.
Pick anybody needs.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Linda, for not only your family's contribution, but your sister's too. Please send that message to her. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
We need a motion.
We need a motion to agree on that lease.
I would love to make that motion.
And Mike, second? Thank you. Alrighty. Any other questions? Seeing none, raise your hand or say aye, please, if you agree with that motion.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and next is the Aubuchon donation, which I don't know anything about. If somebody would like to speak to that.
David, you want to speak to this one?
Sure. Aubuchon reached out to people and donated 2 pallets of screws and nuts and bolts and things and brackets and all the different stuff. And so we put, we kind of estimated it to $1,500 and we said, thank you very much.
Nice.
If you have been by there, we are in the midst of switching over to Ace Hardware. So it's a little crazy in there. But if you ask the right people, they'll find whatever you need. Anyway, but transition for Jen's already took place, so they're a little more organized. But they're still in the midst
Whole
of
new
it.
world in there now.
Whew, I guess. But anyway, so just for that sake. But we do need a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Second?
Second.
Steve Parks. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Next, report to the board from the superintendent, who's been very busy, to say the least.
Yeah, so both Wendy and I are spending quite a lot of time keeping up with all that's going on at the legislature. They have, the CTE work is spread out among the House Committee on Education, the Senate Committee on Education, the Senate Committee on, no, the House Committee on Economic Development and Commerce, the Ways and Means Committee, and I'm missing one. The Budget and Finance Committee, thank you. So each of those committees meets several times a week, and each of those meetings is an hour or 2 long. And it's important to watch them all because there's nuance from all of them. So we're spending quite a lot of time doing that. Everything I'm going about to say can change, right? Today, right? As of our understanding today, it looks like previously we were concerned because a bill was coming forward about CTE governance. At the meeting I was at, they discussed the fact that they are not trying to get the CTE bill ahead now of the rest of the proposal. They have heard that message and are responding. Instead, what they're trying to do is have that piece sort of tied up in a bow to hand off to the larger picture now. So I think that is good news, and I think that has come from probably advocacy from not just myself, but for example, Dan and others have reached out to legislators. So I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable that CTE won't be a lone wolf out in front of everything. That being said, there's still quite a lot of comment about the governance model for CTE, the funding model for CTE, and the catchment areas for CTE. In today's Senate Committee on Education, they said that they're no longer considering moving any CTEs, that the CTEs should just be put on the map because they're not moving. Now again, that can change, but that was today's statement. So that's kind of good because CTEs are very expensive to build because they're purpose-built and there's a ton of electrical and air handling and all kinds of things that go into building a CTE center. So I think that's good news. The downside, of course, is that many of our CTE centers didn't benefit like we did by our community's support in their ability to remodel. So many of our CTE centers haven't been touched since they were built and are desperately in need of remodeling. So if they're not going to move them or build new ones, then I certainly am hoping that they'll put some construction money in some of this bill. The proposal on sort of the districts, I honestly cannot tell you where they're going to end up. It's everything from 5 to 25 to 30, right? And every single legislator seems to have a really good, thoughtful process about why they think it's what they think, but they're all different. And so right now they're kind of meeting about that and how to determine that. There are several committees which are drawing maps individually, not together. So I'm hopeful at some point this will sort of start to cross over because right now I'm not, being a person who's watching all of them, it doesn't appear that they're watching each other's, right? So there's a lot of work going on that the one committee doesn't know the other committee's doing the exact same exercise. That being said, it's March 20th, and even if they extend, the latest they can go is mid-June, is my understanding. So they only have 12 weeks left in this session, which doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like enough time to get from where they are, which isn't really anywhere, to having a bill. So I'm certainly hopeful that they don't try to rush a bill, right? That instead they get the work done that they can, and then they move it into the next session. But there's a lot of pressure on them to get something done. So that is the concern, right? Is them feeling that pressure and trying to get something done. I have been emailing pretty much weekly all of our elected officials and then everybody who's on the House and Senate Education Committees, just an update about, thank you for what you did last week. Here's something to think about for this week. And I send out probably 25 or 30 of these emails each time, and I get maybe 4 or 5 responses, which I think is good. And the people who respond do ask really good questions, and honestly, they keep asking follow-on questions in many cases. So I do feel like they're asking questions and listening. I just think it's a very big process for a part-time legislature who have mostly day jobs and also don't have staff. This is a big lift, and that aren't educators. So I feel for them. This is a lot. So we will just continue to watch and monitor and give feedback. There will be a point where I'm really gonna need board members to sort of get involved. Dan's done a really wonderful job sending emails specifically, and I know Bill Bierman talked to Senator Peter Conlon, and so I think that those touch points are really good, because then later on, when there's something really important, then you've already made the touch point, you've already got the relationship, you might be able to say, hey, remember when we talked, there's this new thing I want you to attend to. Because eventually, there will be bills. And then when those bills come up, then that's when we're really gonna need to be able to weigh in. Right now, it's just kind of a watching what's unfolding and hoping that we don't get going too fast. Because this is pretty serious stuff. This is kids' futures and communities' taxes, and it does, while the legislators certainly appear to understand the weight and the gravity of what they're up to, when we're, like a superintendent, one of the jokes that we have is, you never try to change boundaries in your school district until the last year on the job, right? Because you'll end up getting fired, or the community will come unglued or something. So I think there doesn't seem to be enough understanding of what's gonna happen once all of the moms see the maps, right? So there is that piece, which is still gonna be coming. The Vermonters haven't seen the work yet, so.
I mean, I don't think the Vermonters are understanding what the heck's going on, and how much local control is basically gonna be gone, as well as just the whole elimination of the State Board of Education. I mean, all the things that they're talking about are gonna have humongous impacts on students, families, our towns, and, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if now's the time to comment, but
Sure.
Mr. North came to our town meeting, and I stood up and suggested that the idea of having 30,000 students under one umbrella, and I looked around at this town and I said, and what will our voice mean for 400 students in face of 30,000? I said, this board in Montpelier or wherever is just going to ignore us. And he kind of acknowledged that in front of the townspeople at the meeting, and I don't know where that'll go, but the idea of, he also mentioned the smaller districts, the number of competing arguments of the different. And I think at this point, if we could influence some of those guys to somehow get clever about these groups and maybe fashion them around CTEs, it almost seems like a natural. Because the numbers were 5 to 30 districts, 17 somewhere in the middle there, and there are 17 CTEs. And to organize districts around that is almost a natural. Otherwise, you're going to be splitting up CTE sending districts from school districts. And can you do that? So maybe at this point, if we can exert a little bit more influence on the guys who are thinking and making these decisions, as you say, all in a vacuum, maybe it can go somewhere. I'm not a politician, but now I know people might be open enough to some clever ideas.
It's always a good time to start, Dan.
Could I make one,
Sure, go
just
ahead, Steve.
point of order? Ms. Crossbaker, it's not necessary for you to sit here
I
and listen to
understand.
all the lies and
Taking
miracles
it
that
all
we're
in.
doing, you know, thank you for, don't feel like you were obliged to stay for all of this.
Sometimes I'm good.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
No relation to you.
I want to say, if you haven't had the opportunity to go on YouTube and watch some of the educational hearings, Nicole spoke yesterday in front of the Commerce Committee, and it was clear that Commerce, Ways and Means, and the Education Committee are the three committees that are supposedly collectively making these decisions. So she did a terrific job. There were two other speakers surrounding her presentation. I think they asked great questions. She's actually getting more questions from one of the people in that group who actually lives in Starksboro. And Herb's been involved with Mount Abe for a while, and years ago would come and question a lot of things, but
He's on our board now.
Yeah.
that's right. So that's another plus. I think he's actually going to do that. So I don't know if he's been over here.
Not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's another piece. So I think the other piece is too an invitation to some of these, legislators to come and visit, come and see what we do. Or talk to your friends and neighbors who have people that went through here, as alumni, whatever. And we can all do that. And it's not gonna hurt, that's for sure. But take a look at that. It's on YouTube, it's pretty easy to find. And you'll get a flavor of what the questions are coming from those particular groups. Some are pretty well informed, some have no idea what's going on. And don't understand the districts, they don't understand, for instance, like ours compared to Stafford or, some of the other ones that are coming in. So I think that's an educational piece for them also.
Now, there are a couple of positives that could come out of all this, which I want to always try to focus on what could actually help us. If the catchment areas of the CTEs change based on whatever they do with school districts, it might help us because, for example, Wendy did a great job figuring this out for us because we've had this question for a long time, right? Our catchment area in our boundary, there are 1,100 high school students who live in our boundary area. So we have 1,100 kids to draw on for our programming. In the boundary area for Stafford, for example, there are 2,200 kids that live in that. So they have programs that are full and they have to turn kids away from, whereas we're under-enrolled here and have plenty of room for more students. So I'm hopeful that whatever boundaries end up happening, that it allows for more kids to have more access to more CTE. That's the goal of the whole exercise, despite whatever governance happens. As long as more kids are getting more CTE, I think that's good for kids and good for Vermont. The other thing which they're talking about as kind of like they're gonna do is reestablish graduation requirements, statewide graduation requirements. You may not know that we don't have statewide graduation requirements in Vermont. It's completely local control right now. So pretty much every single district has its own graduation requirements. And that's really hard on CTE centers as we're trying to work with the sending school districts to make sure that kids get the credits that they're supposed to get, because there's language that allows when they take a class here that we have embedded credits, English credits or math credits or science credits that students are supposed to transcript. But it becomes really hard when the sending schools don't have English or math, they have proficiencies. So that's a limitation of the proficiency grading project that Vermont has undertaken. But reestablishing statewide graduation requirements will really tighten that up for kids and make it better. So I think that's really good. And then they're also talking about a statewide calendar. And if Champlain Valley can do it, the state can do it. So I'm hopeful that
Nicole mentioned that during her briefing, and they said, oh, statewide. She goes, well, we already did one in our area.
Yeah.
And they were like, really? But again, they don't know.
Yeah.
And the day before, Patrick Green spoke, who's the superintendent of Mount Abraham District, and he talked about something that I hadn't even thought of, and this is why I say, take some time and look at these things. He talked about doing the combination, which already happens over there, especially, I know at Beaman, it's been going on for years, where they combine grades and, numbers. And how do you decide which, for instance, if you're gonna have 8 or more in a classroom, but you're already doing a 3-4, and you're doing a 5-6. how are you going to do that? The other piece is looking at the qualifications for some of these teachers and how that certification will have to change if they start doing that. And everybody kind of went, like, okay. So he gave some very practical examples of what will happen, what is happening, and how it's going to, they have to think about the bigger picture. And he said, I could take all of my elementary students right now and put them all in Bristol.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. And we currently lease, rent space for the superintendent's space, and that could be absorbed by one building. But again, he talked about those types of things, and that buildings exist and so on. Now, as for any pushback, he did mention, he said, if you remember, we tried to do some consolidation with another town locally by, and the voters said no. So he was very good about the whole piece. It wasn't, good luck with this. But anyway, he gave some different perspectives that I really hadn't heard in some well thought out pieces. So it's another place for you to become a little bit more educated about K through 12. And they even said, well, what about pre-K? And he said, we have a small group, he said, but we also have a couple of very, very well-run, centuries-old Bristol Family Center, I'm thinking, that already do a good job with that. And that would, in fact, cut into their revenues. And if we did expand it, this is a cost more money, and we don't have it. So those realities were there, but he addressed those during this conversation. And I thought it was great. It was really good, just for one side of one particular part of our sending group.
Dr. Baker from ACSD also had a really good point that as we're talking about hopefully legislating class size to some extent, at least minimum class sizes, it's super important to think about the fact that as we're reporting data, student data from standardized testing in particular, you're not allowed to report any data where the N is 10 or less. I think it's 10. 12, thank you. In the state's 12. So it's really important that our class sizes are at least that. Otherwise, you can't talk publicly or report out the data as you're working as a board or as a group to improve outcomes for kids. So it makes it really challenging. So there is some actual logistics that have to be attended to with the class size discussion, not just what do we think is the right thing, also to make data public for communities to know how kids are doing. It's important to have that 12 number.
Well, and as we all know, or if you don't know, as a new member of this board, there is a minimum to run a class in this building. And our numbers, as you said, if you go over, 16, you have to have, an aide or an assistant there. And that's AOE. So I think the AOE regulations, they're starting to see that, there's different numbers. So quite interesting. Steve?
So tying back to something you said earlier, and talking about the legislative proposal and our catchment area and our enrollment, as we discussed this afternoon, we may have reached saturation here. Like one of the things that makes it cheaper for us to run the center is to enroll more students. We may have reached saturation point across what we currently serve. Because it's about a fourth of the students, right?
Well,
25%.
right now we serve 1 in 3 high school students in Addison County. And unless schedules change, if we had aligned schedules with our sending schools, I feel confident we could have more students. But we are getting to the point where we are doing more and more and more outreach, which we are. We can have maybe a board report at some point on all the things that we're doing, but I would say that we are doing everything. We are doing a ton. Meetings and going to their open houses and having 8th graders and 9th graders here and inviting parents in and doing homeschool nights and doing specific tours for groups of kids that might want to go to a program. We're sending direct mailers to every family in the entire county. We're doing media and social media and print media and the newspaper and radio. I mean, we're out there, and we saw a huge number. We had 121 more students apply this last year than we had apply the year before, but we lost 100 during the registration process. So it's I am hell-bent on getting more kids, having more access to more CTE. And also, there are some structural things that I'm hoping actually will be affected through this legislation and would help us. And if those things don't change, we are sort of bumping up to the top of what we're probably going to get even with all those efforts.
Even if we get rid of competitive funding?
I was gonna say.
The competitive funding is part of what has to happen in the legislation. I think everybody has every committee I'm in recognizes that. And so that would also help, because then it wouldn't hurt a district to send, I'm thinking of Virginia, they've only got 242 high school kids. It hurts them if they send kids to us.
A third of those to us, yeah. I
So,
mean, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I just learned about this, I'm sorry, Nicole explained it to me when I was writing this. It's an unforced error. The idea that you're gonna take a school and talk to a student, you're gonna take a school that's on the edge anyway for funding. I don't know any school that's flush. And you got a student saying, well, I maybe wanna go over and try cooking. And they're like, well, do you really wanna do it? Are you sure? It's gonna cost us $20,000, $30,000 to send you over there. It's not, it's hard to believe that there isn't some conflict of interest when it comes to money, and schools don't have it. I mean, I don't see where they have this extra money to send these kids. I freaked out when I first found out about this. She had to explain it to me. She freaked out.
I remember when it was first explained to me when I first I kept asking questions. I honestly thought I was misunderstanding, that I was not understanding this, because how could it be? But yet it is. Yes.
My point was simply that the marginal cost for us to enroll more students may be getting to the point where it's not worth it. And that we need some structural changes before we should start pursuing those more expensive students, recruiting more expensive students.
Well, we could work those numbers out. I think we should have some good idea what a maximum number is, but recommending a standardized catchment area on a per student basis wouldn't be a crazy thing.
For all the time that I've been on the board, one of the charges to the superintendent has been to increase enrollment. Are we then going to start using numbers to hold them to that, the director, when there really aren't any more kids to bring in? So, when we start to see this, does that mean the superintendent's failing, or does that mean we're hitting a ceiling here? We're getting close to a ceiling, and I think it's the latter.
Well, if 46% of them aren't going on to college and only 30% of them are coming here, then what are those 16% doing otherwise, other than training at McDonald's?
What I would challenge is that the idea that anybody that's not going to college should come here, because there are people that won't do that. Even with a program like Sustainable Agriculture, they just want to work on a farm.
Yeah.
What was the enrollment drop we experienced due to the scheduling conflicts last fall? Wasn't it? It was substantial. I mean, you referenced it earlier, but that is like just a matter of schedules matching up, and if we can enable that, we would have. What were the numbers that dropped off last fall? Like 50?
It was a big number.
So that's a significant boost if you can just get things aligned properly.
If that is in fact ahistorical, have we seen what it's been over the last 5 years between enrollment and what happens through drop add? Because I would like to see those numbers before we start drawing conclusions about it was just this one thing. Because I get really scared when people say it was this reason, and it turns out it's not just that reason. There are other things going on here. If we normally lose 60 kids to drop add, 100 seems like a smaller number. It's still big, but let's get some context around that. I would like to see some numbers around that before we start jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, we don't have, obviously we collaborate closely with all of the high school principals. At the end of the day, though, we have no say in what they do with their schedule. It's really their district making those decisions. But for sure, one of the things that was in my testimony, and I think I've seen many other people testifying to, is aligning schedules in the region, whatever the catchment area is. All of the 9 through 12 students should be on the same schedule, because that would eliminate this problem overnight. right?
Liz?
And then, so from our sending schools,
Right.
like how we're trying to align with Virgins as well right now
Right,
to share
Yeah.
programming.
yeah.
One thing that would alleviate that a little bit, that could be potential, is less high schools.
Right.
And so that could really make the master scheduling easier. And so I just had a question about the funding. Because I see what's happening, but a student can't be in more than one school at a time. So is it just that you want the funding to come from the state versus like actually coming from MAUSD being paid here? Because they're only gonna be, the money will follow them to one school or the other. So I don't think you can ultimately really take away that competitive piece, because the money will go to either or be split between. It's just whose hands it's going through, right?
Right, depending on the model that they come up with. A novel, I had not thought of it because I'm not used to supervisory high school districts. Dave Sharp, who used to be an elected official, right? And now has a TV show, he gave testimony, I think the day I was there, the day before, about a structure where, for example, in Addison County, all of the high school kids were in one high school district, right, where they had a board that just oversaw the high school. So that was something I hadn't heard before. I don't know, there's a lot of ways to do this, and I don't know where they're going to end up. My hope is at the end of it, though, that we have a larger catchment area than we do, and that there's something which requires us all to align,
Yeah.
right? That would really be helpful, I think, for everybody. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have just one question.
ahead, Christine.
Do you think that it would be worthwhile inviting the legislators to our next meeting? Or if they would even come? But, I mean, it's.
I don't think it's a bad invitation, no. Then you have to decide what we're going to talk about. Are we going to give another pony show or take a tour? That's another thing, to make it a productive piece for them. I'd be curious what they need to know or want to know.
I invited them to the open house, but we just missed it when I sent them. Told them to come to one, and we just had our big one, so.
Isn't Thursday a bad day for them, though? Because they're in Montpelier Tuesday through Friday, so maybe you could have a special meeting on a Monday. Something that's more convenient for them, or Friday, but.
Yeah, I mean, even if they just joined on Zoom or something, but, yeah.
Sure, we have to think about this carefully, what we're gonna say, and who's
right.
gonna say what. I mean, this
you would
isn't like having a beer with these guys.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
It seems like it would be a good idea if we're going to do that, to ask them what kinds of questions they have. Because if they all have the same question, we definitely want to answer that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
not the big one.
Anything else? Anybody?
I mean, we certainly have goals we could share with them, right, and ideas from our perspective. But, yeah.
Food for thought. The next item is the, I think, the sort of business manager's report, but if you want to add to anything you've already.
Well, I thought it was my turn.
Yeah, I'll just give some quick updates, and I think the majority of the content as far as significant updates are included in the policy 2.4 that I circulated.
Right.
And just briefly, I think the last couple of weeks that David and I have been pouring into reconciling bank statements is telling, and more from a control perspective, best practice dictates you have bank recs reconciled within 30 days of the statement coming out, and when we started in October, November, we were 6 to 9 months out, pretty much across the board, and some of the banks were even longer than that. And that's just, not to throw anyone under the bus, but the prior business office just failed to do core operations. That's just best practice, standard operations. So as far as, and none of this is new news, it's stuff we've been working on since October, November, and we're making good progress, but I just wanted to underscore the significance of that and the challenges we've been facing to date. We're, like I mentioned, we're still working through the audit, so we're on good track there. David and I have been doing a lot of conversion work in our chart of accounts and getting our financials updated to do the rollover to the next fiscal year. Part of that has included training with our tech provider, Tyler. So we're kind of in a lull as far as activity. Year end is always a big push, and then fiscal year end is a big push as well. So the next few weeks and months we'll be doing a lot of heavy lifting with getting the entire system converted over to the next fiscal year. Negotiations, it's been a lot of work recently, and then gearing up towards next school year's contracts. That's kind of the big ticket items that we're working on at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you. Update on legislative education proposal. I think we've heard that.
Kim, may I
You wanna
add just
add?
one quick thing, which you just brought to my mind? Next board meeting, I will be bringing contracts to the board. And I just want to do a preview that I'm also, because I'm saying this so that you can reach out to me if you have questions or concerns before I bring it in April. I am going to be asking the board for an exception to one of your INS policies, which has me limit administrative contracts to 1 year. I'm going, because of all that's going on in the legislative world and in the education world, I would like to offer some protections to the current administrators. So I'm going to be asking the board to offer 3-year contracts to our managers and administrators. So if you have questions or concerns, please reach out between now and then so that we aren't hung up at the meeting, because the last day that we are allowed to offer any contracts is May 1st, which is the current language that's out there in these legislative proposals. So it'll be really important for me to tie this up before May 1st.
I did have
Christine?
one question. I'm just wondering, are you folks in the business office in need of any more help, like an assistant?
Yes.
And what's going on in that?
Yeah, so we're still actively recruiting for the
Okay.
finance assistant position,
Great.
and yeah, part of the challenges I outlined before, not to be doom and gloom, but we're shorthanded on top of all that. So,
Yeah, that's what I was.
but yeah, we're optimistic. We had a first round that didn't meet our expectations, so
Yeah.
the position is still open.
Okay.
So if you know anybody who could be a great fit, send them our way.
Alright. Spread the word.
Yeah, please do.
That's right.
All right, thank you.
So next is the superintendent's evaluation, which we met today. We're still a little behind, but we're better than we were last year. Anyway, and Steve has graciously put together a structure and obviously started working on it prior to our even getting together. I did have some input from a couple of board members, and I was a little disappointed that there weren't more contributions in regards to evaluation feedback. We get in there and it's, yes, we know maybe a little bit more than other people do about what Nicole does every single day, but nothing says that you can't come and ask her what she's doing if you have a question about how you're filling things out. Now, Liz just mentioned something. As a new board member, she didn't feel that she was in a position to really complete it to the best of her ability. I totally get it. Anyway, and sometimes even as a veteran board member, I hear stuff and I go, oh yeah, I already know about that, or whatever. But I think the atmosphere has changed a little bit from the previous chairperson, and I have a tendency to share more things than were done in the past. And I think it's been very, very helpful and very reflective of the evaluation that we've seen to date. But Steve, if you want to talk a little bit more about what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo Kim's thank you to Dan and Christina for filling out those evaluations. That did help us. And I know that, you know, it's like telling people to come to church on Easter when everybody's there. If
You're hoping.
if we could get, there's several reasons why it's important for everyone to participate in this. First of all is not everyone knows some things. So for example, even as vice chair, I don't know what goes on in the negotiations committee. And that's an important part of the evaluation. Is there a robust relationship between the superintendent and the labor organizations that represent the people that are involved? A person on negotiations would know that better than I would. And so it would be really critical to get feedback from that person. Things about facilities and that sort of thing. Nobody can be on all the committees except Nicole. And even that is pretty daunting because I think, Wendy, you are the contact for some of the senior chairs, and I know that David and Austin are there for finance. So that's why it's important for everyone to participate, because some people know a lot about some things. Nobody knows everything about everything. So if we don't have the feedback from everyone on the board, we get a somewhat imbalanced perspective. So that's one thing. And some of the questions, if you notice on the feedback form, they deal with completeness. So it's kind of like the first one, provides regular updates regarding district matters. That's a question we all need to answer to get a complete perspective, because if somebody's not getting the information that they need and you don't fill out this form, we don't know that. So we can come up with examples of how somebody fulfills something, but when we're looking at is everybody getting what they need, we need to hear from everybody to see if they are getting what they need. So that's a plug for everybody to do a little bit in this evaluation process. There's also a danger that if one person is the only person providing the feedback, you have the danger of being complete sunshine because you like that person, or you have completely undermined the authority of the superintendent because you're at odds with them. So that one of the benefits of having a large board is that we get lots of different perspectives, unless we don't hear them. And so again, it's more of a ask rather than a you guys are in trouble, because it doesn't make the process easier. That's not why I'm asking this, but it does make it better, and that's why. And Nicole has said time and again, I want feedback. I want to know when things are going right, and I want to know when things are going wrong. And if we only do it once a year, and 3 people do it, that kind of defeats the purpose of a cooperative and a robust evaluation process. I mean, I would expect that anybody that's done evaluations for teachers, if what you hit them with at the annual evaluation is the only problem, then that's a problem, because they don't have time to fix, they don't have time to adjust, and there's this window of time while you're saying, oh, I'm going to get them at the evaluation, where kids are not being educated properly. And so if there's a problem, if there's some sort of flaw in the system, Nicole may not even know about it. And if we don't give that feedback to her, then, how long does that problem sit there and fester? And I think we've had experience with that in this district. So, yeah.
Oh, just to be clear, you've only received a couple evaluations back. Is that the point here?
Yes.
So I would just point out to everyone that sits on this board that is their primary responsibility
Yes.
to do this evaluation. And are you looking to extend it so people can get these forms to you? Are you prepared to just move forward with the process?
So here's the tension. We were supposed to be done with this by February.
Yeah.
And not we were kind of waiting, but we were also having trouble getting everything. We were having trouble finding time to do it.
Yep.
That's why we've kind of spilled into this. And then the question was, since we had to push back this meeting, because this meeting that was supposed to take place to go over the results with Nicole got pushed back a couple of times and happened this morning. And then the question was, can you put all this together for tonight? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So then somebody said, well, if we don't do this tonight, then that pushes it back to next month, because we only meet once a month. So then we will have finished this process in April. Hooray, we shaved 2 months off of what we should have shaved 5 months off. So it does put us kind of behind a little bit of an 8 ball. And I think it's more important, as I said last June, I think it's more important that we do justice to the process than that we get it in on a timeline. but I think we do need to be sensitive to the timeline, because now we've hit reorganization, people are off the board now, we have new people coming onto the board who would say, I don't know, I'm
Right.
new to all this. So that's the whole impetus of getting it done in February, before board reorganization. So we don't do this in a vacuum. What does the board want to do? Do we want to push this out another month? And, my recommendation would be yes, or the other solution that was proposed is that we charge a subcommittee or the people that are involved to say, we trust you to finish the evaluation this year, and we elect you as proxy to do that evaluation. So that way we wouldn't have to wait until the April meeting to approve all this. We could get it done. But again, that's a board decision, that's not our decision.
So if you offer some motion to be able to say, Steve and Kim, go ahead and if you're okay with what we write up, obviously we're going to show it to you. That's a shared piece, but for us to continue to move the process along, we need to know if that's okay. Or do you want to wait till, I hate to ask Nicole to wait till May, but.
So just a piece of information, and it does, I'm fine with however the board proceeds. I plan to ask the board for an extension of my contract, since I am now I'll be finishing the first year of a 3-year contract. So I'm going to ask the board to extend my contract. Any such extension has to be finalized, signed off by the board chair and approved by the board before May 1st. That has to happen at the next meeting, otherwise I'd lose my chance, because there's going to be legislation that says that can't happen. So it doesn't matter to me if the evaluation is done ahead of time. It may matter to you, but I really need the board to take action on that request in April.
Thoughts, concerns, questions?
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents out there. I mean, I don't see the reason to hang this process up at this point, but what I would like to see is a committee formed, like at the next board meeting or the May board meeting. What we do in Addison Northwest is the Superintendent Evaluation Committee meets over the summer to start the process for the next year. We meet like 3 times. It's this whole, we've got to do better. But
What do they do it now?
yeah.
Harassment committee.
Do they have a separate committee?
No,
Harassment
no,
Chairperson? and-
chairperson writes the
That's
superintendent's
what I said, and that's
contract.
gone on for a long time.
Yeah, and then our stuff goes through staff member feedback. And
Is that included with it?
yeah, and
Okay.
I actually sent the evaluation forms that you gave me to our chairperson as a possibility for having a board feedback for our superintendent. I thought it was really nicely done. And I will say, I apologize now that I hear you, so a new board member would know what onboarding with Nicole looks like and how I was
Right.
invited to come in and look over things and ask questions. So you are right, everybody can add something, and I apologize. Thinking about it that way, you're right.
Yeah, no, and that's the kind of great feedback that we would put in evaluation, and it's not, it wouldn't be here. I mean, now it will be,
Right.
but it wouldn't have been in here, because.
I did it in the paper,
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to beat the dead horse here, but I hope everybody remembers the only person that the board employs is the superintendent. It is our sole hire, and we have a responsibility to fill the personnel aspect of that, and evaluation is an important part of that personnel aspect. So I will stop whining about.
So you need a motion to appoint Steve as,
And myself?
and Kim
Yeah.
to complete the evaluation of the superintendent.
For this year,
For
yes,
this year.
exactly.
Yeah, just for this year, not to change the process.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I think that's a fair compromise. I would support a resolution to do that.
Sounded like you made a motion.
I did make a motion. I
Okay.
meant that to be a
We
motion.
need a second.
Sorry. I did intend that to be a motion, so we can
And
move
Dan has
forward.
just seconded it. Thank you. All right, any other questions? And like I said, I think Christina's idea about having a subcommittee of some sort makes a lot of sense. It's taking a look at the other districts and what they do,
Yeah,
it's
figure out
it's
the
it's very, very helpful and gets it out of our hands. Thank you. anyway, but, okay, go ahead, Steve.
We still have a motion on the table, so,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, we vote on that. If you are in favor of that motion, would you please raise your hand or say aye?
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Before we move off of this, there were two things that that did come up in discussion today and might help us in the future. We need some sort of a tickler to say that the superintendent evaluation process starts in January, the formal process, and that by the end of January, these feedback forms need to be in, so that we can have, we can compile and meet with the director in the first part of the month, and then have an approval for the evaluation and have it completed by February. That would formalize that process. The second thing is, rather than make this a one-time lift where everybody's got to get together and do their homework at night, that we might want to have some sort of a reminder on the agenda on a regular basis, like this is your homework for next time. We're going to do questions 1 through 5, which relate to relationship with the board, and everybody's going to put a little bit of feedback in there. And I've done the back counting. If we start that in September, then we will have covered each of the 5 sections before January. So it's something to think
You have the forms in your hand. What a recommendation is that after every meeting, take a look at it. If there's something you say, oh, she did that already, write it in. So you're actually putting together that form over a series of months
Yes.
versus overnight or that day when it's due, so that it gives you that kind of feedback. And if you're still not being able, and Steve did this morning, there were a lot of things he couldn't answer because he's not involved in that conversation with Nicole, whereas I would be able to answer more as we go along. And depending on how many committees I'm on or whatever, I'm going to have more of the information, or just a casual conversation. But again, I also encourage you to come in and talk to Nicole. Oh, she went to a convention. What was it? What'd you hear? And that kind of thing. And if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to know. But at the same time, she's very willing to share some of those things, or things that you read in the newsletters or that are put together. Steve went to something, keep that ear open, and when it's reported, you have those forms to be able to make notes. And it's just a very appropriate time to do that versus an overnight.
Yeah, and if you're doing this and you get to, I don't know, October, and you look and you go, oh, wait a minute, I don't have anything in this box. I don't have anything in this box. You can start asking questions about that, or bringing it up to the board.
Right.
Say, look, I don't know what's going on in this area. Does anybody else
Right.
have any feedback on that?
Especially if you miss a meeting.
Yeah.
Liz, you want to add?
Do we also have our own monitoring reports that we do for us? So like I have a monitoring report I do every year. I know what it's going to be, and I do that exact process throughout the whole year. I just notice my monitoring reports, these things related to you as board members do that here.
I haven't currently done that, but if that's something you want to share with us, that'd be great.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, so I would.
Fun? What's that? Yeah, exactly. But seriously, if any
yeah,
materials
yeah,
like that,
I'll
and
see. Yeah.
you obviously will be able to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that our superintendent does is quarterly, we go into executive session and she reports on the targets and the evaluation to the entire board at the same time. So we all get the same information. We're all on the same page. It's not, I think it makes it tricky if we're all trying to gather individual information. It might serve us all better if we're, working on this in a way that we all get information. It's the same information, we understand it.
Mhm.
And if we have questions, then we can reach out. But that's just an idea.
And some people, I think, are more vested than others,
Yeah.
and have also been here for a while, so there's a historical perspective from past administrations that were, anyway, but,
And the
we'll-
idea
we're
here
gonna
is
skip
not necessarily, this is not punitive in any way. It's not saying that Nicole's doing a bad job. We talked about this, that it's good to have a robust instrument, and something that is useful and valuable no matter who's sitting in that chair. We're still working the kinks out on this.
so I'm going to move on. Number 3, reconstitution of the facilities committee, we've kind of answered that. Talking with Christina and members of her, the norms and goals committee, they met their goals, and we're going to sunset that committee for the moment. There may be some other things coming up, but we'll move that along. Stand-up Public Education Transformation Committee, and you alluded to that as something that would be helpful.
Right, so since we'd already warned this, I didn't want to take it off. I've kind of rethought this. I originally thought that maybe there'd be like a core group of us that watched all these videos, but honestly, I think that is probably too much to ask of a board member. I think the better strategy is for me to regularly report at the board meetings, and then also, since I do a weekly board report, to put findings in that weekly board report for you. And if that doesn't, if I would love the feedback if the board is feeling sufficiently updated on what's going on, or if we need to add other strategies for communication. But in the meantime, I don't think we need another committee with only 11 of you trying to serve on 4 committees already.
I think too, it's important, like Dan did, you know, he came and said, I went to a town meeting and I had this conversation, I've established a relationship. We'd encourage you all to do that, whatever profession you're in, because I think, you know, the more ears that we can get out this information, the better. Christine?
This didn't come up earlier, but I meant to ask, and since we're talking about public education and help, how is it going with the lobbyists, people that we've hired? And
Great question. So you may remember that the board, we had a special meeting and the board approved me to spend $8,000 to hire a lobbyist, not to advocate for us, but to gather information, which has been incredibly helpful. So she is there, and I've been sending the reports that she provides to the board, because even after watching the whole entire meeting, going back over those notes, she catches stuff that I missed while I was watching it. And it really helps me to then prepare the questions that I'm going to ask or the comments I'm going to make as I send the next round of emails out or make phone calls to people. The other thing is that she has, and this is always, I think I've found this to be the case with educational lobbyists, is that they understand the context and the history of why somebody might say something and then how best to talk to that legislator about it. Because that legislator has some background or context, which is really important to the question at hand. So I have so far, it was, like I said, I'm not going to name the school, but there's a school district in Vermont that spends $98,000 a year on a lobbyist. So I feel like our little $8,000 is pretty good bang for its buck. Yep. And she is certainly, I don't know how we would manage with just Wendy and I, the size and scope of what's going on.
I'm already at almost 2 times the speed when I play them back, and
right.
So I have to really listen.
Yeah, I know. What you say? I know what you mean.
So I will continue to send the board. I don't send, some of them are not very helpful just because the committee ended up, like the agenda said it was going to be about CTE, but really the whole time they talked about something else and there's like one line about CTE. I don't send those to you, but I do send you the ones, especially the House Ed, Senate Ed, and now economic, the commerce ones. I'll send those to you.
And is she just attending CTE stuff, or is she attending everything?
She is employed by other places, right?
Okay.
So she is the lobbyist for the EDCOs, the Economic Development Corporations. So actually, I found out about her through Fred Kinney.
Okay.
And so she happens to be in a lot of those, and then sometimes CTE will come up there too. So she sits in, she or one of her people sit in everything about CTE and send us the notes. And then it so happens that we get extra information because a lot of the concepts cross over, which is exactly what I was hoping for.
Great. I had a thought about, would it be helpful for us to share these reports with our sending schools?
That's
superintendents.
Right, that is a board decision because the board is paying this fee.
Yeah.
Right, so that would be something that you would have to authorize me to do. Since
It's not just public information.
No, it's proprietary because
Okay.
you're paying a fee for service.
But the meetings are open.
The meetings are
The
open,
meetings
correct.
are open, so this is a proprietary summary of the. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know. It was just a thought. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're working
And
towards the same
I have
kind of
no,
things.
I am happy to do it, but I certainly would need board permission before I did that.
I have to say that I find those summaries to be really good, because they are focused on CTE. And to sit and sometimes reading it as opposed to watching these guys mumble on and on, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. And it, like I said, if anything, it points out the confusion between the different members as to really what is going on, and this is what's encouraged me to feel that we can make an impact in the midst of all this confusion. Maybe all it's gonna take right now is a candle to light, their path. But, yeah, I would, well, if you wanna maintain
How do you feel about sharing?
motion to let it go public.
I'm good with it.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, Liz had already asked me
Yeah,
if it
I'd
was
love
something
to
she...
be able to share them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Christina's reaching out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be beneficial for everybody concerned, we're looking.
Is that a straw poll enough for you?
but-
It is for me.
Okay.
Is there anybody with a feeling otherwise that I need to know about?
I don't have a sending school, but my wife has heard all about the summary.
I bet.
All right, I'm happy to do that, and we'll offer that up
Thank
then,
you.
because I agree, we're
That
all
would be
in this
amazing.
together.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, and to put a financial perspective, that $8,000 came from the 3 cent increase.
Right,
So-
there you go.
Well, there you go.
So-
Would you want us
Yeah,
to
thanks.
forward them, or will you, can you forward them?
I can
Well,
absolutely
as a
forward them.
member of this board, yeah, they could, we
Forward
share.
it to our
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah, and board is, it sounds like the board would be fine with you sharing with other board members then too, of
Right.
those, right? Okay, thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Okay.
You need motions for those committees.
You need a
I
motion?
think you need a motion to do what you want to do with those committees. I think we can get one motion.
The sunset one?
Okay. So, motion to reconstitute facilities?
Didn't we already do that earlier?
We want to do them together?
You can do them all together.
Okay. So, this motion would include reconstitution of the Facilities Committee, the Sunset Board, action for norms and goals, and those two, really. I don't think we need any other motions for this.
So I move that we reconstitute the Facilities Committee as outlined in the discussion, and that we sunset the Board Norms and Goals Committee because they have met their charge.
Second?
Second.
Steve Parks. Any questions? Thank you, Linda, for that. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you.
Google Calendar and delete goals.
Taking that right out of there. Okay.
You may
So,
want to mumble louder, Dan. 'cause you
Yeah.
said delete
Are we all
goals.
clear when these next committees are meeting? Do you have those dates of those meetings in front of you, David, that lists all the committees, or?
currently, yeah.
See, facilities is the 4th Thursday of the month, 8 a.m.
Fourth Thursday.
Budget is the first Thursday of the month, 8 a.m. Policy is the second Thursday at 4 p.m.
4:30.
4:30 now, yeah, we changed it.
4:30.
And nominating has no time. I think it's ad hoc.
Okay.
And the plan would be then to meet so the next, in April at all these times, and then the committees can change their times if they want.
I
Is
think-
that what I'm
yes,
understanding?
That's how
Okay.
it's warned already, right? Yeah.
We would have to rewarn him, which is
Yeah.
fine, we're happy to do that.
All the board members should have that.
Should.
The-
It was done back at the beginning of the.
No.
this
You can
year.
have, well, we have some new members too, so it'd be helpful if Shannon put it out.
There are enough experienced people on those committees to know that first process was appoint a chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to note that the facilities committee is, the first meeting would be during the break, school break, it's the 24th. So I know,
shoot.
I think, I personally wouldn't want the facilities committee to not start before the May, so I would rather.
I think it's listed in the calendar. The dates are moved when it falls on a vacation.
Linda, what does it say for the facilities meeting in April?
April 17th.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I'm in Japan, so.
Is that school vacation week?
Or
No,
go
not.
somewhere for the meeting.
Oh, it's a school board
They're going to
meeting.
Japan. It's David's vacation.
Yeah, it's the same day as the board meeting.
Right.
Facilities meeting.
Next item, public commentary on any topic. Ooh. What do we want to talk about? Only kidding.
Pass it over.
Anything anybody wants to add to the discussion from any political perspective, any ideas? Let us know.
Is anything online, David?
No one's online.
Nope, nobody has been online. All righty. So, next one is executive session. Pertaining, the first part of it is VSA 313A1.
I make a motion that we go into executive session pertaining to VSA 313A1, topics requiring a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage, such as labor agreements with employees pending or probable civil litigation or prosecution, if the public body is or may be a party. And also for the purpose of appointing, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee as per VSA 313A3.
That's a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of those two things. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Does
See
the
you.
motion need to have, invite other people, non-board members? Does that
Usually,
need to be
yeah.
a motion?
Yes, and I would ask that David, Austin, Wendy, if you'd like, Nicole, anybody else we're missing? But you obviously won't be here, and Linda doesn't need to be here. Okay. Anything else?
And the clarification, is that for both sections of the discussion about employment evaluation and contract negotiations?
Two
For all
separate
four of
things.
those people?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Who were the four that you invited? David, Cindy, Austin, and Nicole? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Make sure I have them.
And you just need to know when we adjourn,
Is
And
there
any action?
going to be any action?
and if there's any action.
No action?
So you have an agenda item after you come out of adjournment,
Board reflection.
Judge's not here to do it.
which you.
I know, where is he?
Oh, yeah, that should be before.
Yeah.
Yes. Jeez.
It's not assigned to Judd, you know, he just does it a lot. So-
Don't you worry, Linda, we'll make something up.
Yeah, whatever you,
We'll reflect.
whatever you give me, I will put in.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you very much.
We did this the last time, so.
We're good.
Go to the-
Yes, there is a motion on the table, so.
Yeah.
do you-
Did you, somebody second, did you second, Steve?
Thank you, Steve. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Mm-mm. Thank you. Motion